Imagine for a moment that the world around you is not just what your eyes can see. There is a hidden, powerful, and mysterious reality where celestial beings operate silently, influencing events, protecting, and sometimes delivering divine messages that can change the course of humanity. These beings, known as angels, are mentioned 108 times in the Old Testament. From Genesis, when they appeared to Abraham and Jacob, to the Exodus, where Moses encountered them in the desert, angels are central figures in the story of redemption. But among all these beings, there is a class that defies human understanding: the mysterious Ophanim. The Ophanim, or wheels in Hebrew, are enigmatically mentioned in the prophet Ezekiel's vision. But before diving into this extraordinary revelation, we need to understand who Ezekiel was. His name means God strengthens, a promise that would become his reality during the Babylonian exile. Taken captive by Nebuchadnezzar in 597 BC, he lived among the exiles by the Kibar River. It was there that the heavens opened before him, and a divine vision forever changed his perception of God's power. The vision begins with a storm coming from the north, a dense cloud filled with lightning and radiant fire. And in the midst of this storm, Ezekiel saw something no man before him had witnessed. 4 living beings, each with 4 faces and 4 wings. Their faces were human, lion, ox, and eagle, symbolizing wisdom, power, service, and sovereignty. These beings were not just extraordinary creatures, they reflected God's very character. But what captured his attention even more were the wheels. Wheels that were not ordinary. They shone like beryl and had eyes all around their circumference. These wheels moved in perfect harmony with the living beings. They did not need to turn to change direction, but followed the impulses of God's Spirit. Imagine the scene: a celestial structure of indescribable proportions, full of life and intelligence, a visible manifestation of divine omniscience and omnipresence. Ezekiel fell with his face to the ground, so great was the glory he witnessed. And perhaps here lies the true message behind the Ophanim. They represent God's absolute sovereignty. Just as these wheels moved without hindrance, God's plan also advances without failures, without delays, in all directions. In today's world, many may feel like the exiles in Babylon, distant from God, trapped in a world that seems out of control. But Ezekiel's vision reminds us that God's throne is in motion, that he is in control of every detail, even in life's storms. The Ophanim are there, full of eyes, watching, guiding, fulfilling divine purposes. The association of the Ophanim with angels is debated. Apocryphal and later Jewish writings categorize them alongside cherubim and seraphim, placing them as guardians of the celestial throne. However, what matters most is their function: to manifest God's glory, reveal his power, and ensure his purposes are fulfilled. The appearance of the Ophanim also echoes in Revelation, where John describes similar creatures, full of eyes, serving around God's throne. This leads us to the final reflection: are God's eyes also upon us? Without a doubt, for he is the same yesterday, today, and forever. Just as Ezekiel found hope in the midst of exile, we can find confidence today. The God who controls the wheels, who guides the cherubim, who speaks through storms, is the same God who is by your side, guiding every step of your journey. He is sovereign, he is faithful, and he will never leave you alone. The Ophanim, with their complexity and mystery, generate various interpretations among scholars and theologians. Some believe they symbolize the connection between heaven and earth, representing the constant movement of divine will. Others see them as a representation of God's absolute knowledge, with the eyes around the wheels signifying his omniscience in all directions. There are also those who associate the Ophanim with time and eternity, suggesting that their perpetual movement demonstrates God's timelessness, who is not subject to human limitations. This reminds us that even when we do not understand God's ways, he is operating in perfect synchrony with his eternal plan. In Jewish tradition, the Ophanim are seen as part of the celestial court, serving as guardians of knowledge and justice. Their wheels, full of eyes, represent constant vigilance, ensuring that nothing goes unnoticed before the Creator. This brings us comfort, as we know that God is attentive to every detail of our lives, guiding us even when we cannot see the path ahead. The message of the Ophanim is, therefore, a message of trust and surrender. Just as Ezekiel trusted the vision he received, we are called to trust that God is in control of our journey. Regardless of the storms we face, he is present, guiding us with wisdom and love. If we look at Scripture, we will see that wheels are often used as a symbol of movement and progress. From war chariots to the wheels of time mentioned in Ecclesiastes, there is a pattern that reminds us that life is in constant transformation. Likewise, the Ophanim remind us that God's plan is always in motion, steadily advancing toward the fulfillment of his promises. So when we feel stagnant or directionless, we can look at Ezekiel's vision and find hope. We can trust that God is leading us, even when the paths seem uncertain. We can remember that he sees everything, knows everything, and is working for our good. The mystery of the Ophanim continues to inspire and challenge scholars, leading us to reflect on our own faith. How can we align our lives with the divine movement? Are we ready to follow God's will even when we do not understand the way? If you enjoyed this content, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any new videos. Share this video with someone who needs to hear this message. Stay tuned for more insights and deep revelations about the mysteries of faith and spirituality.